everyone, I'm Dr. Sonali and I welcome you all to CSC Core Concepts in the series of Learning Python. In my previous video, in the previous last two videos, we have discussed about inheritance, and I told you that there are four pillars of object-oriented programming. That is, inheritance is one of them, which we discussed. Now we are moving on to the next one, that is the polymorphism. Now, what do we mean by the word polymorphism? Poly means what? Multiple. Morphism means what? Multiple faces, right? So now, who is making multiple faces here? Who is adapting different faces? That is the method, or you call them function, or even the operators. Operators like plus, minus, they can be also your multiple forms, right? Now, what happens here is the beauty of the object-oriented programming is lying here. That is, you make one function, and as and when you want to use it with different parameters, you can anyway use it. Say for example, this makes the code very flexible and reusable. Let's say for example, when you do your online shopping, right? So when you go for proceed for payment, you are given different options like credit card, UPI, wallet, that portal's wallet, or net banking. Let's say you have been given this four options of payment, right? Now, what do you think the programmer at the back end might be doing? Is he creating different classes for each of the type of payment? No, he will make only one class, or you can say he will make only one method called as a process payment, but with different implementation, because the implementations change. If you are selecting on credit card, then you have to use different parameters, like you have to validate the card expiry date, and you have to talk to the bank whose credit or debit card, and whether the balance is there or not. If it is an UPI payment, you have to redirect it to the UPI gateway. If you have a wallet payment, then you have to check the balance is enough or not. And if you have a net banking, it will redirect to the bank login. So basically what you are doing is that you are creating only one method, that is process payment, and depending on the user input, it will take different forms, right? Either it will redirect to a bank, or it will redirect to a UPI. Okay, so this same method, when taking different forms, instead of writing four methods for four different processes, I am using only one method, and I am using it as and when it is required, right? So the method will remain same, but the action will change on the type of the payment. This is very beautiful concept in object oriented programming. So now there are two types of polymorphism. Okay, one type of polymorphism is that compile time polymorphism, and second is that the runtime polymorphism. So compile time polymorphism is what you decide which method to or operation to run during compilation based on the input, right? So when I am giving the input, let's say net banking, then during the compilation time it will decide that which method to be used, right? So it is done usually using operator overloading. We will see what is this concept now. But the thing is that here in Python, this type of compile time polymorphism is not supported directly, because it is dynamically typed. This type of this is a dynamically typed program. You don't have that compilation that you are declaring integer I. You are simply using the I variable, and based on the type of the value, Python decides its data type. This is what is done in Python. So since it is dynamically typed, it is not doing that type of compilation. So actual compile time polymorphism is not done, but we can achieve something like a compile type polymorphism using overloading method. Okay, so you can use some true method overloading is not supported, but a similar type of a behavior can be achieved. Okay, so let's see. For you do not need to understand, you can simply do overloading. That is enough, right? Now let's say for example, I am defining a class called as calculator, right? So now this calculator, when you are defining a method in this class called add. Now in this add, you are giving three arguments A, B and C, and you have to return A, B, C addition, right? Now you are calling, what you are doing here is that you are calling you are creating an instance of the calculator class, and you are calling the dot add with 2 arguments and with 3 arguments, right? Now based on the type of the input, it will adapt based on inputs. Let's say for example, here you have defined the value of C. Right. And here you gave only two inputs, 5 and 10. So it will assume that C is equals to 0. But here you have defined the value of C as 20 as an argument. So it will simply override, right? So you are using the same addition function just to add another type of a code, right? Let's see, you are not writing two separate functions here. Two separate methods you are not writing in case C is not equals to 0. Understood? So this is what you are doing. So let's say you have a calculator class, okay, and where you are defining a function called as a add. Okay, so add has arguments, let's say self, comma a, comma b, and you are saying C is equals to 0. You are initializing it here itself. Now you are going to return a plus b plus C. That's enough, right? So this is what you have done. Now you are you are saying you are making a instance of the class calculator, right? And now you are calling print, simply you can print calc dot add. Now you are giving only two values here, 10 comma 20, right? So you have two options here. One option is with C is equals to 0, but if you do not want to have C is equals to 0, then you are going to call your 10 comma 20 comma 30, right? So it will override. Understood? So instead of writing two separate functions, same thing like a net and this. So in case if you are clicking on net banking, it will redirect to that gateway. Then the UPI will be blank, right? That way. So another is that you can even this is the fixed length, right? Where you have defined that you can have only 3 arguments, not more than that. You cannot provide more than 3 arguments here. But suppose if you have variable length arguments, let's say multiplier, right? So you have to write star args. We have defined about this args function, okay, where they are giving you the number of arguments, and another one is keyword arguments. So these are the values. So these values are variable length, right? So that is why I have not defined it. So result is 1, I am saying. So I am using a for loop for number in args, the number of variables it has. Result is equals to result into number, right? So now if I am giving 2 comma 3, the number of arguments here is what? 2. Now when I am giving these 4 values as an argument, args value will become 4. Understood? So with variable you are able to do this. Fine. So you can say, I hope you understood it. Class, let's say multiplier okay, so you are defining a multiple function where you are simply saying you don't know, right? So you are saying star args, right? And now you are saying result, you are defining, okay, you are initializing. So result is equals to 1, right? Now you are saying you can have a for loop for number in args, the number of argument you have. What you will do is that result is equals to result multiplied by that number, right? And then you can return result, right? This is what you have done. Now, yeah, there is an indentation mistake here. Yes. So this has been done, right? Now you can call a value of multiplier class. Let's say mult is equals to is equals to multiplier. Okay, it is an instance of the class multiplier. Now you can say print. So you can call mult dot, the function name is mul. So I can pass only 2 arguments, right? Or I can even pass the multiple arguments. Now in the first case, what will happen? The for loop will run for 2 times only. Then in the next case, the for loop will execute for 4 times, right? So you can have this value. So what happened here? Multiplier. So I had a spelling mistake here, so I fixed it. Done. Okay, so it is giving me the answers depending on the number of arguments. Now another type of polymorphism is the runtime polymorphism. So where the behavior is decided while the program is running based on the object calling. So here we use something called as method overriding. There is a difference between overloading and overriding. Okay, overloading means what? You are using the same method but you are overloading with different parameters. Now let's say for example I am giving you a program to calculate the area. Okay, area. Now I can give you area for anything. Let's say area of a shape you have to calculate. Now I can give you square. Now when I am giving you square, I have the arguments as number of sides. But when I am giving you a circle, the argument is the number of the radius value. And the formula will also change. There, in addition, the formula won't change. Right here, the formula is going to change. So let's see this. So let us define this shape function class shape. Okay, now here one thing is that if I want to have use this pi value, so I can import it from the maths library. Okay, so in that class you have to include it from math, import the value of pi. Understood? So this will be required. So you have defined the class shape. Wait, I gave a bracket. Okay, now I am defining a function called as area, and where I am writing self but a value. Now this value will depend on the type of the shape, whether it is a radius or whether it is a size. And simply you have to print the okay, I am just calling this is calculating area. Okay, I just wrote a piece of a print statement here. So first time I have defined this area. Now I am calling another method called as class square. Okay, now what am I doing is that I am redefining this function area with self comma side, because in square we give the side value, and print, it will return me what? The area. Okay, F, I will format it, area of square is. What is the area of a square? You will print down side multiplied by side, which you have given in the argument, right? So this you have done it, right? Now I can reuse again this same function with a different argument. So I can say circle. So define the area of a circle where the arguments are what? Self and radius. See here I am changing the formula in the for the functions also. So print, I can write area of a circle is, I can say pi, I just included it. Okay, r square means radius multiplied by radius, right? So I have done it. Now in order to use this, I will have to create. Now I am creating, let's say, okay, here what you can do is you can create the instance of each class, or I can create the one instance for all square classes also. This is very interesting. Okay, so I can say shape. Okay, I am calling for shape, square and circle, or I can individually also create. This is both same. So since this is new, I am showing this way to you. Okay, so now, yeah, so I can just use for shape in SP, because SP is a list type now. So it will first become a instance of the shape class, then it will become an instance of the square class, then it will become an instance of the circle class, right? So you can simply write down for SP in what, sorry, shape. I have to use a variable shape in SP. What you are going to do? You are going to pass, yeah, I am going to call, right? Shape dot, which function method name? Area, let's say 10. I am giving the value 10. Now you see, calculating area means first time this shape, this shape is in SP. So first time it became an instance of the shape class. So in shape class, you are in the function you are calling calculating area, right? Second time it became an instance of the square class. So it is printing side into side. I have given the argument 10. So where I have not given the argument, it is simply not doing anything, right? So square is 100. Third time it became an instance of the circle class. So the value is pi r square. Okay. So it is giving area of this circle is being given. Understood? So I hope you understood this value, right? Okay, because it is 10, 314. Okay, so this is done. Now polymorphism can be done using their Python also provides some inbuilt functions where you can use the polymorphism, that is len and max. So if you are using this inbuilt function directly in a length of hello, it will give you the string length. If you are using it in a list, it will give you the list length. So you can overload them. Then similarly for max also, it will help you to find out the maximum in integers as well as in strings. Now operator overloading is another concept. That was your method overloading. Okay, what we had studied here is what? Method. First term we have done method overloading, right? This was add overloaded. Now operator overloading means what? You are overloading the operator like plus. So when you are using this plus symbol to have two integers, it will give you integer addition. But if you are using in two strings, it will give you the string concatenation. And if you are using two list, it will concatenate two list. Understood? So it can be used also for multiple purposes. Now it can also allow operator overloading by writing this function. So instead of writing plus, even if you write double underscore add double underscore like your init, it will use the same work as plus, right? Instead of writing multiplication, you can use these functions. So there are a list of functions. So let's say operator overloading. This example is very interesting. I have a class point where I am giving 2 points x comma y, right? I am defining 2 points. Now I am writing a method here of addition points. I want to add these 2 points. So x is the current point. When you are adding 2 points means what? One value is the current point and the other value is the next point. So self dot x plus other dot x, and you are returning the addition, right? Now, you are calling this function because you have defined a instance p1 of the point class and you provided the argument 1 comma 2 and the second class, that is 2 comma 3. 2 you have to give, otherwise you can't add. This one is your self, this one is your other, right? So p3 will be what? P1 dot add points. So this is the method you are calling. This method you are calling over here, right? Add points, and you are printing the output, right? Now this same thing, okay, addition of two coordinates without this operator overloading. Same thing what you can do here is that instead of calling this add, I didn't write this all, okay? So this is a user made method and this is an inbuilt method which can be overloaded. I just told you, instead of plus you can write add, right? That is also enough. So you can simply write p1 plus p2, so it knows that it is a call to this function only. Understood? So you don't need to write in this way. This is a user defined method. Like here again there is another one, lt. Lt means left, less than, less than. So less than is also there. So I have given you a list over here what operation. So if you are using a less than, you can use only this function. Less than, equal to, then this is not equal to, greater than, equal to, all can be overloaded. Okay, then here for addition, add, subtract, multiply, power, then division, floor division, modulo, left shift, right shift, ANDing, ORing. Okay, all are available. I hope you understood, right? You can overload in this way. You can try this program, this addition of two coordinates again. So without writing your own function, you can simply call this inbuilt function, and here you can call it using the plus operator. So I hope you understood about the beauty of polymorphism, where you don't need to rewrite, or the same method can take different shapes as and when it requires. So it increases the code reusability. In the next one, we are going to discuss the next pillar, that is encapsulation. Very interesting concept. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe and follow this channel. Thank you.